How's it going, everyone? We are about to leave Lisbon, Portugal, and I wanted to make another video to explain how we afford to travel because people sometimes wonder how we do this. And the way I want to explain that is to compare the cost of living in the US versus the cost that we incur during travel. Now, I fully acknowledge that we are in a very fortunate position. The lifestyle we have is very flexible, and in terms of the timing that we have with each other, it just works out great for where we are in our lives. We're both healthy and energetic, so we have the energy to be able to travel through the airports and go on these hikes and walk around and things like that. So we're taking full advantage of that timing. A few other items to consider is that we don't have kids, we don't have a fixed rent or mortgage that's holding us back, or a car payment. So as I mentioned in a previous video, I moved all of my stuff into storage and I sold my car, so now I can use those expenses for traveling. We're also fortunate because during the pandemic, we realized that we can work fully remote, and that is the situation for both of us. We can do our work fully remote. So I'm going to show you a spreadsheet that I put together that compares the cost of living in the US to the cost that we incur during travel. And a few things to note is that, one, it is way more cost effective to be traveling with 2 or more people. I tried traveling last year by myself and it was way more expensive than what I'm spending or what we are spending now. Alright, so this is a breakdown of the cost of living at home. In terms of housing, let's start with rent, which is the biggest expense that I had. This is for the year 2020 when I was living in Hollywood, California in a studio apartment. And at the time, my rent was about $1,800. And then for utilities, I was paying about $150, which included things like water, gas, trash, internet, and renter's insurance. So when you add these two up, you get a total of $1,950. That's $1,950. And I also had a car. So my car payment for a 2019 Tesla Model 3 was about $815 a month. And then for gas, or in this case, electricity, I was paying about $40 a month. And then my insurance on the Tesla Model 3 at the time was $115. And then every month I'd save about $20 to compensate for registration every year and any unforeseen maintenance. So when you add all these up for the car, it turns out to be $990. And when you add the car and the housing payment together, you get a grand total of $3,930 to live at home. Okay, now looking at the budget for traveling. Now keep in mind, this is a budget for 2 people, which make things much more cost effective. And there are a few line items here, starting with rent, which is again the biggest one. Now we use this money for things like Airbnbs and hotels. We haven't stayed at any hostels yet. But for that, we have an allocation of $60 a night. So that's 60 times 30 days gives us $1,800. For food, we primarily use our food money for groceries to save money at restaurants and bars, and maybe like on the weekends. And the convenient thing about us is we like to kind of share dishes. So we like to buy one dish and just share that. And that way we get to experience more dishes, more restaurants, and it's more cost effective. For transportation, we've roughly estimated about $600 a month. So that includes things like flights, Rideshares like Ubers or the local rideshare software that they have in whatever location we're in, trains and buses. And sometimes the Rideshares like Uber is much cheaper with 2 or more people because you can split the cost and you get from point A to point B directly instead of trying to walk 2 different subways or trains or anything like that. We also have travel insurance. Traveling around, we use SafetyWing, and that costs us about $42 each month, so 42 times 2. And then we have a whole bucket here for allowances, basically about $400 each. And we use that for things like gyms, daily gym memberships if we need to go, COVID tests, some countries where we just pay for laundry, withdrawal fees for when we have to withdraw money in the foreign country, if we want to buy things locally, like any local clothes or going to H&M or something like that. I like to tip musicians and street performers, so I have that in there too. And usually the bigger chunk, it comes out of these destination trips. So for example, we were in Peru and thought that we'd like to go to Machu Picchu, and that cost some money to get there. So that comes out of our allowance bucket. But you can see here that when you add all these up, it comes out to about $4,200 for 2 people. So let's take a look at what that looks like for one person. I'm gonna hide this for now. And you can see if you just divide that by 2, that is $2,092 for this budget. Now let's go back. I want to show you what I want to compare it to. And you can see the things I'm comparing here are the items in yellow. We have, for one person, or for me living in Hollywood, California, for rent and car, for my rent and my car payment, I paid almost $4,000. But now traveling around, which includes things like rent and transportation, I'm spending only about $2,100. So you can see that it's much more cost effective. And if you're interested, I also have a breakdown here for the daily cost for 2 people in this column and the daily cost for 1 person. So we're doing pretty good. So those are my calculations, and I just realized that I included food in the travel expenses, but you would have spent for food anyway wherever you're living. So really you can have that money back. But there is the cost of storage, which I forgot to include, but that's only a few $100s. So I guess that kind of offsets each other in a way. I do want to say that most of the flights that we have are covered by credit card points. I have taken full advantage of the welcome bonuses from cards like the American Express Platinum, and I just signed up for the Chase Preferred Sapphire so that I can rack up more points to be able to use for more flights in the future. So just note that what I presented is an average budget. Of course, things will be cheaper in areas like South America or Southeast Asia, and things will be more expensive in places like Europe. So overall, I think it's gonna work out. We were in South America for the first month and actually came in under budget. And right now we are in Europe and it's a little bit over budget, but then we are going to be moving to Southeast Asia at some point, and I'm expecting that to be under budget. So it's all going to work out, I hope. In any case, I'm going to put out a video every month to see how we are doing against our budget, because it's one thing to have a plan and it's another to execute that plan. So stay tuned, and I hope this inspires some of you to go travel.